Okay, so let me start by introducing myself. I'm Steve, obviously, and I started CAD school, goodness, well over 25 years ago. I've been saying over 25 years for a few years now, so we've been going quite a while. Used MiniCAD, or what Vectorworks used to be called MiniCAD in the early days, and about version 7, it upgraded its name to Vectorworks because everyone thought that MiniCAD was the small version of AutoCAD, which of course it never was. Although, believe it or not, AutoCAD and Vectorworks are the same age. They were created in much the same time in the early 80s. Welcome, everyone. Lots of people still joining. So yeah, I run CAD school. I've been training people to use Vectorworks for well over 25 years, and over the years have looked out for any other program which I thought was worth having. So we adopted SketchUp, we adopted rendering programs like Strava from the past and Atlantis, and then when Cinema 4D came along, Cinema 4D actually asked me to adopt it because they were looking to integrate Vectorworks with Cinema 4D. Well, the rest was history, and now we have the Cinema 4D renderer inside of Vectorworks. So yes, we've been through a lot of renderers and a lot of modeling packages, but Vectorworks remains a fantastic all-round package. Those of you who use Vectorworks will, I'm sure, attest to the fact that it's a fantastic all-rounder, great for drafting, great for modeling, and the specialist plugin tools within Architect or Landmark or Spotlight are second to none. It's very much the market leader in garden design. Architect, it's amongst many others, but garden design, in show design, it's number one. Brilliant. People still joining. Thank you. You're very welcome. Please use the poll to give me questions for later. I won't answer the questions right now. So, without more ado, I'm just checking on my little cheat sheet, check I haven't missed out anything. But yeah, we sell Vectorworks, we sell these rendering solutions, and we sell training. We've been doing lots and lots of Zoom training over lockdown and even before that. So do get in touch if you're interested. I just wanted to try these polls, and just wondered if you'd just give me a little bit of input. Last time I did a webinar, I felt like lots of people were watching, but I didn't hear from anyone. So let me try this poll on you. Only just worked out how to do these polls. So just take a minute to fill in this poll. It'll give me an idea of where you guys are coming from. Very good. It's all starting to work. I'll just give you 30 seconds to fill in this poll. Really don't have to. It's just.
And I, of course, Stephen, have been using MiniCAD since version 1, long time ago.
Brilliant. Yeah.
That's how far back I go.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, MiniCAD Plus was it used to be called when I had my first version, 85, I think that was.
And we used to run that on little Mac Pluses.
Absolutely.
512. Of RAM, or 1 megabyte of RAM.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Okay, so I think we'll end that poll and see. Okay, so most of you are Vectorworks users. Half of you use SketchUp, possibly as well. We've got about 70-30 Mac to Windows, and occasionally or all the time for 3D. I believe, share the results with you if you're interested. There we go. That's our first poll. Very interesting. But yeah, most of you are Vectorworks users, and some of you are SketchUp users. Good to hear. Great. Without more ado, let me share my screen and get going. So let's get rid of that. So the first thing I wanted to do was just sort of ask rather an obvious question. Why do we need real-time rendering? Well, in Vectorworks, we've got OpenGL rendering here, and that's all very good for when you're modeling. It's good. It can even be good for the odd quick sketch render. It's very fast. It's bit of ambient occlusion there, shadows in the corner. That's great. Vectorworks, of course, has rendering. And so if we go to a viewport, we've got a render that's in progress there. And if I tell that to update, and if we had a little bit of time, then we'd see what's really quite a good render here. Now, you can see this on this machine took 3 minutes to render, and I'm not going to wait 3 minutes. Instead, I'm going to do a quick sender back, boomf, and there's the render from Vectorworks. And I think those of you who've rendered in Vectorworks before, you're aware of the quality that is possible in Vectorworks. Those of you who haven't rendered in Vectorworks, you may think, wow, Vectorworks is capable of some really good renders. And it is. It's a very good render package because it's got the Cinema 4D render inside of it. But if we go back to the OpenGL model here, what if we could achieve that quality at the click of a button and move around in real time? Well, of course, that's what this webinar is all about. It's all about real-time rendering. Also, by the way, I'm running, of course, in 2021, and I've got rid of all my palettes, which seems rather drastic, but because I want to split my screen, I want the most real estate. And with a little shortcut, I can get up some come on. Here we go. So I've got some real-time sort of palettes here, which are part of the new Vectorworks. And I've got this Enscape palette here, which would normally be in my tool sets. And I'm going to launch Enscape now. And you can, I've been playing around with splash screens you can change in Enscape. So as you launch Enscape, you can put up your company logo or your mugshot or whatever. So you won't have to bear with that for too much longer. So Enscape is starting, and I'm also going to just click on this button in the mode bar here to synchronize the Vectorworks view to Enscape. So this is just the software starting, and straight away, almost straight away anyway, we get a rendering inside of Enscape. How beautiful is that? Not only that, but if we, in Vectorworks, I'm going to go into the walkthrough tool, and as I walk through, I get real-time rendering in both Vectorworks and in Enscape. Now, of course, you don't have to have Vectorworks and Enscape, side by side. The best possible way of doing this is of course, to have two screens, which of course I do, but hard to share with you two screens across the internet. So I can synchronize my view, and anything I do in Vectorworks, if I hit the 4 button and I go to, I've got some things set up here. If I start doing some modeling on this top here, then straight away it appears inside of Enscape. So it's real time in terms of the modeling, it's real time in terms of the rendering. If we do want to just look at the Enscape render window, I can navigate independently inside of Enscape as well. Navigation inside of Enscape, you either use your gaming keys, so you use the WASD keys, you can use the mouse, you can sort of wheel in and out. My favorite actually is something called the Space Mouse. 3D Connections make something called the Space Mouse, and it's like just a simple little knob really on a spring, and but I can move that and twist that, and it gives you the ultimate way of navigating inside of 3D. And apart from the gists I've got, because I'm full of dopamine or whatever from being ready for this webinar, I'm a bit jittery, but you can move around really smoothly in real time. And I think you'll agree that the quality of the render you're getting there is really fantastic. The sheen you've got on the cabinets, the sheen you've got on the floor, the quality. Obviously, that comes straight from Vectorworks. The quality of the texture, and you can have any resolution of texture you want. So some things are controlled using inside of Enscape, but the thing about Enscape, which is fairly unique amongst the three that we're presenting, is that it's really controlled almost entirely by tools within the host program, in this case, Vectorworks. So, anything I do to my textures, to my lighting, to the model, all just go straight over to Enscape. Things that you can control in Enscape, obviously, you can change the view in Enscape. You've got these controls. It just tells me H, so I'm going to just type H, get rid of that reminder. If I hold down the Shift key and the right-hand mouse button, what I can also do is change the time of day. And that's, again, just superb, isn't it? So we've got beautiful sunshine coming in. And if I swivel around, left mouse button swivels around the camera, right mouse button swivels around the point of view. And as I said, right mouse drag. And now, and you can see beautiful sunshine and rays coming in and lens flares and things like that, all in real time. I mean, to me, I'm still so excited about it, and hopefully you're excited too by it. Beautiful stuff, which we can show in real time. We can obviously export stills and videos and panoramas, all with that beautiful quality. So let's progress even further, and you can see the time in the bottom right and part of the screen. So if we progress even further to nighttime, then my lights are obviously more obvious. They were on before, but now they're more obvious, and we've got some auto adjustment of aperture of exposure. So let's just use my 3D Space Mouse. Of the 3 rendering programs, this is the only one to support the Space Mouse. So good on Enscape. Now, I'm so excited about Enscape. You may think that, oh, it's a done deal. Enscape is the best renderer out there. Well, just wait. All of these 3 programs have things which are unique to them and make them different. And it may be that, the application you're after, maybe one of the others is a better solution. But just to do a little bit of a sort of judgment ahead of time, interior renders, I don't think you can beat Enscape. So if you're an interior designer, I think you need look no further. But that's a bit of a sort of what do you call it, a deal breaker or a spoiler alert. Okay, so let's have a look at a few more things. I'm very tempted in these webinars to sort of run away with little details. So I'm looking at my cheat sheet to see what else I wanted to show you. So I've rendered the viewport. I just want to show you a bit more of how we control things beyond this. So let's go to split screen again. So the moment I go back into Vectorworks, we're going to synchronize the views. So within Vectorworks, normally, of course, we'd have our tool sets and all the rest. And I've got 2 things happening. I just want to get rid of the zoom thing is all in my way. Always is, isn't it, the zoom thing? So I've got two ways of controlling Enscape. I have actually torn off one of my tool sets here, so I've got the Enscape menu down here just in case things don't work according to plan. But this new feature of having some live sort of pop-up tool sets which you can program inside of Vectorworks is something I'm using here just to get rid of all the tool sets and maximize on my screen real estate. So these are all the tools you've got within the Enscape plugin. Now, we're at 2.9 of Enscape. What Enscape, in their wisdom, decided to do actually in version 3 is actually split some of these, because some of these could be over in the Enscape window because they're more to do with, if you want to adjust the exposure in Enscape, well, it makes more sense to have a control in the Enscape window. Nonetheless, we've got this palette here, which at the moment in 2.9 contains all the controls. So what are the controls that I've got here? So this is the main button where we've already started Enscape and synchronized the view. Now, this button, I'm sort of waiting to deploy this button, but this button is probably the most exciting button of all, although doing it in a webinar is it's going to be my excitement more than yours. It's enabling me to put on my 3D goggles. I do have some 3D goggles ready at the ready here if you've got your cameras on me as well. So I've got goggles at the ready. I'm going to put them on, but you can't really totally share that experience, that immersive experience, but it's one click away. Okay, the next thing I want to show you in Enscape, let's see, is things like the visual settings tool. So with this visual settings tool, I'm controlling all sorts of things to do with the render window here. So let's go through a few of them in turn just to be systematic about it. Although it's a beautiful real-time render, sometimes I'm sure everyone who's done 3D will appreciate this. Sometimes showing things in photorealistic format can give the idea that this project is finished. It's a done deal. You can't change anything. The one thing that gives the client, I believe, a sort of little visual cue that this is not finished yet, that it's a sketch, it's just to add outlines. So if we add some outlines, it sort of makes it sketchy, and that I believe makes it look like this is more of a sketch. So we can do that subtly or crudely, but that's available to us. Next thing we've got is exposure. Now, it is automatic exposure like a normal video camera or something would be. We can turn that off, and then manually we can expose it so it sort of stays at the same exposure. But generally, auto exposure with a bit of exposure compensation that would be is the best way of doing that. So we can just get that to the right exposure. Your screens may be different brightness to mine, but that looks just about right. We've got things like depth of field, which is very good as well. So if we want to concentrate on a certain part of our scene, we can blur that. And then in order to get the focus where we want, we can simply change the focal point. And as you change it, you get this sort of line appearing or sort of section appearing, and it's really obvious where you've got your subject in focus. So that can be a very good dramatic effect. You can even adjust the focal point during an animation. So you pull focus, as I believe is the term they use in movies, where we change the focus point from one place to another in an animation. So that's your depth of field, which is very good. Very easy. In terms of training someone to use this program, I think that I could teach you pretty well everything you'd need to know in less than half a day. So it's something you may well pick up by yourself, or you may, as a lot of people do, they do like a little bit of help. It's taken me a while to accumulate this knowledge, and yeah, sometimes things are easy, sometimes it took a while to find things. But I can certainly give you my knowledge or even sell it to you. You've then got things which are a bit like Photoshop filters, but we've got things like, I'm just going to pick out a few things. Now, I've got these glowing lights here, and these glowing lights, the lights we've got here are a combination of Vectorworks spotlights and glowing discs. So these glowing discs, guys, if you can mute yourselves, that'd be great. So yeah, and I want them glowing. I want a bit more glow there. So this thing called bloom is quite nice, that as I increase the bloom, you can see the bright spots in my drawing, get a bit more sort of, bloomed, there's a bit of fuzz around them. You've got things like chromatic aberration, and I can, do things like adjust vignette and things like that. Right, I want to keep on moving reasonably fast here, so I won't go through absolutely everything in here. In the atmosphere, we've got all sorts of things. Just want to point out one thing, that is what we see out the window. Now, before we look out the window again, let's just change back to daytime. So let me just change the time of day to daytime. And you see out of the window, I'm seeing a nice scene, which I'm not necessarily seeing in Vectorworks, although we can do the same in Vectorworks. So we can also, let's just go back to the Enscape visual settings. Inside of this, under my atmosphere, I can change the panorama that I'm seeing outside, and we can have forest and desert and urban and all the rest. But also I can choose Skybox, and Skybox will allow me to input my own panorama as well. And it's really clever with this that it even allows me to say the brightest point in that skybox is going to be the sun. So that is finding the sun from the image. And if you're doing that, you can't change the time of day. Okay, so that would do something different. I'm going to stick with my town outside the window. So that's what we're seeing outside of it. Also, it controls the clouds outside, so we can change the density, the variety, and play with the clouds. Again, moving on reasonably quickly, going to the capture. When we're making stills from here, we've got a resolution. We've got all sorts of resolutions, including our own resolution. So these days we don't tend to print out quite so much. So full HD or Ultra HD is going to be quite enough. Ultra HD is good enough to print on an A3 pretty well, an A4 pretty well, and you can go beyond. You've also got quality for video and the frames per second. 30 frames per second is far too much. Well, don't need it anyway. And panoramas have a resolution as well. So that's when we create output from this model. Okay, so I talked about the model being in charge of things like the textures, etc. So we can do two things to change the texture in this of this. Obviously, we can do this using Vectorworks and my resource manager. So if I go to this object, I'm just going to bring up the object info palette here, and we're just this object is. I'm just got to go inside a bit because it's this thing called an auto hybrid, and I could change this to go on Vectorworks. Oh, it's class texture. It's my fault, not Vectorworks' fault. So I could change it to a different texture. That's fine. Let's get rid of that, exit that. It'll just take a few seconds to rebuild the auto hybrid from here. But if you don't know what an auto hybrid is, don't worry for the moment. Welcome. Someone else just joined. You're very welcome. So as I do this, come back into here, it'll just you can see we've changed the texture. Okay, so I'm just going to undo that change a moment and come back to here. So I'm going to change the texture in a slightly different way now because Enscape also has control of textures as well. So it will just show you changing textures in Enscape. So here we've got the Enscape Materials tool. And you'll have all the same textures in here. So if I say, did I call it marble? Yeah, marble worktop. So a nice search there, which is always useful. So once I've found this, it's using 3 image maps to create this texture. And it's sharing them with Vectorworks. But if I go to the albedo, which sounds like something else, but I can load a different texture into Vectorworks. And if I can find something that I obviously didn't put these in the place I wanted to for the demo, but so we can change it from here very easily. Say very easily, but I don't know where I've put things now because this is a new PC for me. Yeah, of course I'm working on a PC, and just while I try and find these things, I wanted to say that, sorry, I can't do 2 things at once. I'm only a bloke. Download it, I think we're dealing with that and stone marble, stone granite. Okay, so if we went, say, to this and we said, okay, we'll load this texture map here, and then there's something called the normal map. You may know that as a bump map. So I can load from here the bump map, and the roughness or the reflection map, you might call it, we can load from here. And so you can see as I load these things, something funny happening in the background there. I can load these 3 maps, and the texture is changed. You'll find the Renderworks texture is changed as well. So that they're sharing textures. good textures really make good models, don't they? You've got to have a good model in the first place, but you've got to have a good texture on it, otherwise you won't get a good image. Okay, so that's changing textures. Our lighting is coming from some IES lights that are in the ceiling here. Again, IES lights, just fancy spotlights there. And that's what's giving us, if we just spin around here, you can see the sort of pattern of lighting you've got on the side there. That comes from what's called an IES light inside of Vectorworks, but all controlled from within Vectorworks. Now, there's something I was going to show you here, which is really simple now and really effective, which is just the sort of thing you want. I'm mixing my navigation within the two. Now, under this counter, maybe I haven't got a pelmet here, but maybe behind this pelmet, I want a nice light illuminating behind the pelmet. Now, in Vectorworks, if I go to the humble line, which is number 2, and I can draw straight away on this a line. What's a line got to do with lighting, I hear you say? Well, in Vectorworks, we can create something called a line light. Now, line lights, they don't work particularly well in Vectorworks, but they do get translated straight away into Enscape. So what I'm going to do is take that line, I'm going to go modify, convert to line light. And we'll just click on OK to that. And straight away we get this line light, which is just like a little strip light there. And if we just change our view there, we can see it in the reflections, we can see it in the glow there. Really simple, effective line light. You can do the same with an area light. So I could just made a rectangle and converted that to an area light. But you can see here how things are going straight from Vectorworks to Enscape, being converted, made even better than they could be in RenderWorks. So that's lights. Good. Okay, so time whizzes on. I'm gonna accelerate a little bit now. I want to show you some of the output from Enscape. Obviously, you're seeing the output already. To some extent, I don't need to show you the output. But how do we create stills and things from Enscape? Well, we can go to our Enscape menu, and we've got here a take screenshot tool. So basically, that's going to take a render of the scene. It is going to take a rectangular render. So I'm telling it where to go. I'm saving it, and then you'll get this render image. Enscape does use the graphics card predominantly, but it also uses a little bit of the processor. It's doing real ray tracing, unlike some of the others, which take shortcuts. This is doing real ray tracing, producing fantastic results. So we can produce stills. We can produce panoramas. Now, I want you to make sure you've got your phones at the ready now, because I've got a little fun thing for you to interact with here. So just to show you in Vectorworks here, if I've got my camera at the right sort of place where a panorama would be good. Now, how do you know if a panorama is going to be good? Well, just go to a place where you think where standing there would give a good result. And then if you click and drag with the left mouse button, this is effectively the panorama you're going to be making. So left mouse button spins around the current point of view. So that'd be a good place to take a panorama. If I go to the Enscape menu, I've got here, take screenshots. Where are we? Render panorama tool. I'm not going to render that because I don't want to waste time here, but I've got something uploaded for you already. So I've got here a panorama already, and get out your phones and get the camera button. Make sure you're in camera mode, and why don't you scan that QR code with your phones? All right, I'll just give you 30 seconds to do that.
Yeah.
Scanning that QR code should take you to my uploaded panorama, which will straight away show on your phone or tablet. How fun would that be to show a client? I don't know if
203 with 203 52 UB, yeah.
I don't know if any of you, sorry, if someone's on the phone there, if you could mute yourself, that'd be great.
Are you coming off of my plan or off of the actual
Stephen Peters, could you mute yourself?
Yeah. Okay, let me try and find them just so we can double check, because obviously I do it to try and make like everyone's life easier. Really, I shouldn't do it just in case something ever gets typoed, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, I can't find Stephen Peters to mute him, but never mind. Okay, so hopefully you've managed to get that, and that will get you straight to the panorama in question. So that's great for panoramas. Let me show you quickly.
Talk to me and ask me
questions. Sorry, I'm really going to try and find Stephen Peters. Here it is. There we go. Got you, Stephen. Okay, so let's have a quick look at animations. How quick and easy can we make an animation? So let's go to, again, our menu here. And we're going to go, there's so many buttons here, but I want to show, I've got some paths already made here, and perhaps at this stage I should do that, but I just wanted to show you how quick and easy it was. Oh, come on. Video editor, that's what I want to do. Video editor, that's great. And if we go to here, so how is it to make an animation? So if we go to the place we want to start the animation, those of you who made animations before probably know all about keyframes. And here it just says add keyframe, type K. Okay, so I click on K, I've got a keyframe there. I navigate using whichever method of navigation, whether it's my space mouse, whatever, go to new place, hit K, I've got a keyframe. Go to new place, maybe I want to go spin around a little bit, come back here a bit, type K, I've got a keyframe. Spin around a bit more, come above the kitchen table here, and can you see the path we've got here, the camera, the keyframes we've got here? I'm going to hit K again. That's pretty well it. You want to sometimes make your keyframes, edit your keyframes. Maybe you've gone through the wall or something. Well, you can then click on a keyframe, click on one of these keyframes. It'll take you to that position, and at that position you can adjust your view forwards, backwards, sideways, whatever. Click on apply. You've edited your keyframe. Sorry, I've got my thing in the way here. So if I go back again there, the other thing you want to adjust is how quickly am I going around that animation. So I can adjust the overall time. And then, again, I'm chasing this, the zoom button around. Click on preview, and that's going to show you what your animation is going to be. It's not the finished animation, but that's showing exactly what the animation is going to look like. So really, really easy to do that. Then you can, of course, render it. Rendering this this animation's not going to take long at all. It's going to take minutes. Whereas first animation I ever did for a client, massive job of the interior of his super yacht. I went around on my motorbike feeding computers all over the place. London School of I don't know, there was Nationals Film School, had lots of computers. I fed those computers, took a weekend of feeding about 25 different computers to this animation. Now we can do this in about 5 minutes. Now I'm very aware that time is ticking on and I've got far too much to show. So let me just see the sort of things that I've missed out that really want to. Okay, one of the most dramatic things I think is putting on a headset. Now, even though you can't put on the headset with me, I'm going to show how easy it is to put on that headset, and you will see the result of it. So if I just go to the Enscape window and just going to pick up, we've got these things called wands, which one of my wands is nearly out of power. Hopefully that's not going to destroy this, but I'm just putting on my headset now. I'm clicking on the headset button and here we are. A bit jittery, but I'm putting on my headset. And as I move around, you can see what I'm seeing through the headset. Now, if I want to move around in here, I can stand up. And whoops, a bit wobbly because my cable's just snagging. So this is me standing up and I'm looking around the room. I can even walk through the room. So here's me walking away, trying not to trip over all my cables. Okay, I've gone through the cupboard there. That wasn't so good. And with this pointer, I can click to where I want to jump to. So this is me teleporting somewhere else. I can also, I'm trying to look at the screen at the same time. I can move this round so that I'm facing in the right view. Now, this has to be experienced. So I'm not going to carry on further with this. You have to do it. It's not something that can easily be shown, but it's so easy once you got this set up. I'm using something called an HTC Vive rather than the Vive Pro. It's cost me about £400 on eBay. So that's that, and it's possibly the most exciting thing in these real-time rendering applications. And yet it's so hard to show, of course, in Zoom. So, sorry, I was just doing something. It's all looking a little bit fuzzy inside of Enscape, I thought, at the moment. And I think the reason is because under the atmosphere, I haven't got some fog on. So yeah, it's probably something to do with my bloom being too big or whatever. Okay, I also wanted to, moving on quickly, to just show you another model. So I've got here a friend's house. Okay, I don't need to save that video path. So I've got a friend's one here. There's also, I realize, a major part I've missed out in assets, but we'll do assets in this file here. So let's just get this into Enscape. Okay, so we've exported the geometry and it's updating, and wait for it. There we go. So we've got an exterior model here, and we've synchronized our view. Now, this poor house is looking a little bit funny. It needs some sort of things around it. And the next thing I want to show you was to do with Enscape Assets. Now, of course, in Vectorworks, I can put in trees and cars and things like that, but and actually, it's got some pretty good assets in Vectorworks, but Enscape has got some assets. And if I go back to the Enscape menu here, second item here is assets. Now, if you look at this asset library, you will see all sorts of things like people and cars and trees, and there's actually quite a lot of medical workers and medical things here now. I don't know why they've added those to the library. We've got 2,136 assets here, including people and trees and cars and all sorts of things like that. Now, to save time, I've brought in some assets, a bit of Blue Peter happening here, and I'm using the visibility tool here to reveal some assets. So holding down the V key, I'm revealing these assets here. Now, in Vectorworks, the assets look just like simple objects. In Enscape, they're what we call proxies. So in Enscape, we can see them in their glory. So cars and trees and people and all sorts of things like that. Now let's take you on a little journey. We'll go down the side passage and over the gravel onto the grass. Now, one of the things I did want to do in comparing all these three render programs was, I think grass in exterior renders, grass is one of those things which is a major factor. In fact, any render is as good as its worst bit, isn't it? So if there's any one feature which is not good, then it destroys the render. So here's grass in Enscape. You can see it's jiggling around in the wind. Don't know, we're never going to get that close to grass. It's really the overall effect. The overall colouring is got from the texture inside of Vectorworks, and there are about 3 or 4 different types of grass in Enscape which we can use, and it depends on the name of the texture. And I'll just show you a moment here. If I can. Why is that not? Okay, I'm just switching programs here a moment because I've got something on my web browser, Enscape. Anyway, if you rename, there's something called long grass, there's tall grass, there's wild grass. And by naming these things, you can, you can have slightly different types of grass. Come on. For some reason, my dock is not appearing as I do this. Let's get that. There we go. Okay, so we're getting some good views of a nice exterior render, and with the introduction of trees and people and even dogs, and I think I did have we've got a flying pigeon here. Whoa, there we go. We need a bit of motion blur on him. I put a little pigeon up there as well. So I think you'll agree, very good for exterior render. The grass is perfectly good. In fact, I'd say it's really, really quite good. But we'll see different sort of styles of how they do grass in the different programs. I've only just discovered how to really make grass as good as it possibly can be in Enscape. Again, bit of a spoiler alert, but Lumion has lots and lots of different types of grass, probably the best on grass, but that's not necessarily the main thing. Okay, so what else do I want to show you? Let's just whiz through the last things. I'm nearly there. I know that some of you do have other things to do. So what do I want to show you? Yeah, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to load a path, and this path is there just to show you can load an animation path, but it's also there to show you, right, that's not doing quite what I wanted it to do there. It's showing nice flickering sunlight. The reason, though, it's not doing what I want it to is that I'm just going to introduce a bit of fog inside of this. So if I go back to here, go to my atmosphere, I'm just going to increase the intensity of fog. Now, if I have increased the intensity of fog, what you'll see is, and let's just go to a keyframe here, that when I've got fog and sunlight, we get sunbeams. And so that's what I wanted to show you, that particular feature, which I thought was very nice indeed. So you can have fog from sunlight. You can't have fog in the beams of artificial lights, just to show you what you can and can't do. Good. I'm pretty well there now, and realize a lot of you, will have other things to do. And so what I'm going to do now is show you or tell you a little bit about purchasing Enscape, if that's something that you want to do. Now, what I'm just going to do here is just take you to my website. I'm not doing a hard sell here in terms of trying to sell you Enscape. I'm really here to initially to show you, what it does, which is the best, etc. But Enscape you rent rather than buy. Please don't go to the Enscape site and rent it, although the prices are all pretty similar. I think you save a bit coming to me, but I would get nothing, of course, if you went straight to the Enscape site. So a fixed seat, basically that's you purchasing it for a year. That's possible for a year. You pay £339 for it. You can also rent it by the month. So you've got a monthly £35 a month or £29 a month if you pay yearly and you're used to those sort of subscriptions before. If you're in a company where lots of people are using it, you can have this floating license. With a fixed license, only on one machine at a time, although you can deregister it and re-register another machine. It's a bit of a pain. But floating licenses on a network, if you have one of these, one person at a time can use it. You don't have to sort of deregister and re-register it. So that's, if you wanted one at a time, you'd pay $5.42 at a time, obviously double, etc. So that's how you buy it. Buy it from me, please. If you like it and you definitely want it, get in touch. So I haven't looked at all at any comments, so I'm just going to look at some comments and try and, where am I? Where's my chat? There's my chat, but I can't see my chat. I think I'm going to have to stop sharing to see my chat. Great. So hardware setup. Let's go from. Yeah, to confirm you're running on a PC, yes, Stephen Peters. Hardware setup, best optimization. Yeah, go on the Enscape site to look for hardware requirements, but you need a good graphics card. You need something which is a gaming type PC. Can you use it on a Mac? Yes, you can, but under Boot Camp, Stephen Peters. Michael, if you're a Mac user, can you set up a connection, then skip on a PC and still get the real-time updates? Can you set a connection with Enscape on a PC? Not quite sure what you mean by that, Michael, but great, amazing, all good. Any other questions? Can you change the warmth of the lighting? Yes, Claire, you can. That's all under the settings. What VR for Vectorworks for Mac options are there? Yep, so the only option we've got is Twinmotion, Tom. Twinmotion, really good program. Fantastic, revolutionary, but different, as you'll see. VR on the Mac is, what we can't do on the Mac, and they did do it for a very brief moment in time. There was support for it, but we can't use these 3D goggles. As all us Mac users know, Vectorworks has been, Enscape doesn't work with a Mac. So, but yeah, we know that Apple are trying to do some sort of 3D goggles, but it's something that's been in the works for a long, long time. And is it going to be AR, VR, or a mixture? Who knows? So I think that's pretty well there. How do these rendering options compare with Lumen or V-Ray? There are others I'm considering. Absolutely, and that's what these webinars are all about. V-Ray is really good, but you still take time to render. It's not real time like these are. You have to wait for things to render. Quality, you'll probably get slightly better quality, but you'll take ages to create walkthrough animations. Lumion is very much more the equivalent, and again, bit of a spoiler alert, Lumion can't do the goggles. With Lumion, lots more settings, more complicated, but yeah, wait for next week to have a little bit look at Lumion. There's no point in me just giving you a few spoiler alerts and expect you to make your mind up. So do some research, but come back next week to see Lumion. So I think we're starting to, I think we've got through all the questions. Just seeing if there's anything. I did have a final poll. What was my poll? My final poll. How do I launch my second poll? Can't see that. I thought I had 2 polls here, but no, I can't see my second poll. I think I was basically going to ask, if you've seen this for the first time, are you considering purchasing something like Enscape? So maybe you'd just pop something in the message if you're considering purchasing. If you want me to get in touch with you and discuss further, just get back to me either on the chat or get back to me by email or phone or whatever. I'm sure you all know how to contact me. So I think we're there. Can only consider if it works with a Mac. Yeah, Lewis, I quite understand. I've been a Mac user through and through for 25 years. I gave into buying a PC. It's a gaming PC. It's the one we've been demonstrating on. For those of you who are interested, it's got an NVIDIA 2070 Super graphics card in it. And the whole PC cost me, admittedly secondhand, £1,300. So it's a fantastic machine. Plug in the goggles, no problem at all. So yeah, even hardened Mac user, I bought a PC because of this software. The software, I think, is relatively cheap. Perhaps the biggest cost is buying a PC. So sorry, all you die-hard Mac users out there. Any good places to buy PCs? Oh, too many places. Yeah, hopefully when we see the performance Apple silicon maps, they'll start to develop for Mac. Yes, Michael, I hope so too. I don't know what the graphics performance of these silicon maps, new silicon Macs are, but maybe. Brilliant. Thank you for your comments. And we are drawing to a close here. I'll carry on until everyone's left. And if you do want to stay and chat, be my guest. But thank you for all your comments. Really appreciated. See you next week, Louis. Brilliant. And pass it on to anyone else you think might want to. As long as we don't reach beyond 100, we can cope. But bye everyone. You're all signing off, and I'm sure you're all as hungry as I am.